Okay, let's unpack this. We have quite a bit of material here today. Articles, notes. It's all pointing towards idioms in English.
Yeah, a really colorful part of the language.
So our deep dive today is looking at this material, really focusing on common English idioms.
That's right. And what this material shows is uh, an idiom isn't just words. It's a phrase where the meaning, well, it's totally different from the literal words. They kind of paint a picture.
Exactly. Like that classic one the sources mention, time to hit the hay.
Uh-huh.
If you take it literally, you're thinking, what? Hitting straw? But no, the phrase just means time to go to bed.
Right. And that non-literal thing is what makes them tricky, especially if you're learning English. You basically just have to know the meaning.
You do. Word for word doesn't work.
And the material really stresses this. Learning them is so valuable. You sound more natural, more fluent.
Adds sophistication, right, and
Yeah.
helps express feelings really vividly.
Totally. It gets you closer to sounding like a native speaker.
So, our mission here is to guide you through this material we've gathered. We'll look at common idioms from the sources, understand their meanings, see some examples.
And also, importantly, talk about the tips these sources give for actually learning and using them confidently.
Let's start right there then, the challenge. The sources say idioms aren't literal, easy to get confused, right? That lost in translation feeling.
Definitely. So what did the material suggest? How do you actually learn these effectively?
Well, one big thing that came through was context. Learn them in context.
Yeah.
See how they're used in a real situation. Connect the phrase to that feeling or scenario, not just a definition.
Right. It's about the situation first. And interestingly, the sources really advise against memorizing long lists.
Oh, yeah. That seems counterintuitive sometimes.
It does, but the recommendation is consistent. Focus on just, say, 2 or 3 new ones at a time. Really master those.
Okay, that sounds way less overwhelming.
It is. And here's the practical part for you, the listener. Apply them to your life. The material suggests making example sentences that are personal.
So not just a generic sentence.
No. Connect it to something real for you.
Okay, so if I learned under the weather, I wouldn't just write, he is under the weather.
Right.
I'd think, when was I last sick? And maybe write, I felt a bit under the weather yesterday, skipped my workout, something like that.
Exactly like that. That personal link helps it stick. And the other crucial tip, maybe the most important one from the sources, is repetition.
Okay.
Don't just learn it once. Practice those same 2 or 3 idioms for a whole week. Use them in different sentences about yourself. Try them out.
So active practice for a sustained period.
Yes, that repetition in a personal context moves it from passive knowledge to active vocabulary you can actually use.
Got it. So context, small batches, personalize, and repeat. That's the framework from the material. Excellent.
Seems to be the core advice.
Right. Let's get into some specific idioms then, based on the sources. First up, looks like idioms about people, relationships, feelings.
Yeah, big category in the sources, like that feeling you get for someone new, maybe at work or whatever. Often kind of temporary.
Mm-hmm.
The sources call that to have a crush on someone. Could be short-lived, often linked to younger feelings, but adults use it too.
Right, like the example here. I have such a crush on the new guy at work, I go red when he talks to me. You can picture that, can't you?
Totally. Then for more serious long-term relationships, the material mentions my other half.
Your partner, spouse.
Exactly. Like you share so much life, you're like one unit. Though the sources do note some people joke about better half, and others, well, they might not love the half idea. So context matters.
Good point. Another one here is a match made in heaven. What did the material say?
That's for 2 people, or even 2 things that just seem perfect together, either very similar or they complement each other perfectly.
Like the example, my mom and dad are a match made in heaven. Sweet. Conveys that perfect fit.
It does. But, things aren't always perfect. The material also brings up on the rocks.
Okay. Trouble in paradise.
Basically, yeah. A relationship or even a business partnership that's in serious trouble, maybe falling apart.
The example's pretty clear. Their relationship has been on the rocks for months. You get the sense of difficulty straight away.
Definitely. Moving to feelings. To be
Yeah.
over the moon.
That sounds happy.
Extremely happy, really pleased, delighted. The sources also mention on Cloud 9 as similar.
We were over the moon when we found out we were moving to France. Yeah, pure joy.
It is. But then there's the other side. Feeling nervous, anxious, maybe irritated.
Mm-hmm.
The sources describe that as to be on edge. You might even see it in someone's behavior, like pacing or fidgeting.
Right, like before a big presentation or something. You can feel on edge.
Exactly. And sometimes that anxiety or irritation can really explode.
Okay.
That's where the sources bring in idioms like to blow a fuse.
Profuse.
Yeah.
Like in an electrical circuit.
Kind of like that, yeah. It means getting extremely angry.
Yeah.
Suddenly, explosively angry,
Mhm.
like a pot boiling over.
Intense. The example here, Jamie's aunt blew a fuse when she found out the family wasn't coming over for Thanksgiving. Wow, you know she was mad.
You certainly do. It paints a very clear picture, which, as the sources explain, is what idioms often do so well.
It really does. Okay, let's shift gears a bit, following structure in the sources. The next section seems to be about idioms for different situations, challenges, maybe actions people take.
Right. One that most of us have probably experienced is saying the wrong thing at the wrong time, accidentally embarrassing yourself or someone else.
Oh no, what's the idiom for that?
The sources highlight, put one's foot in one's mouth.
Ah, yes, the example. I really put my foot in my mouth when I accidentally revealed the surprise party. Ouch. Been there.
We all have. Then on a more positive note, the sources talk about loyalty through hard times, sticking by someone.
Okay.
That's through thick and thin, supporting someone no matter what, good or bad.
They stayed together through thick and thin, and now they're celebrating 50 years of marriage. That really shows what it means, based on the source material. Real commitment.
It does. Then the material covers those really tough choices. When you have two options, but both are bad or difficult.
Ah, the no-win situation.
Exactly. The sources call this being between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, like the example of choosing between a job you hate and losing health insurance. Tough spot. Neither option feels good.
Precisely. A much more common everyday situation mentioned is just feeling a bit unwell, not seriously ill, just off.
Okay, like having a cold.
Could be. The idiom is under the weather.
I'm feeling under the weather, so I can't come into work today. Yeah, hear that one a lot. Simple, effective.
Very common. And then, related to difficult situations but with a positive spin, the idea that there's always something good, some benefit, even in a bad situation.
Finding the upside.
Exactly. The sources use every cloud has a silver lining for this, finding that little bit of good.
Sure, you took the wrong trail, but you got to see a beautiful waterfall. Every cloud has a silver lining. I like that. It's about perspective, like the sources say.
It is indeed. Now, the sources also look at idioms in more daily contexts, like work or talking about money.
Ah, practical stuff. Good.
Yeah. So if you need someone to get to the point quickly, stop wasting time.
Be direct.
Right. The idiom is cut to the chase. But the sources add a warning here.
Oh.
It can sound a bit rude or disrespectful if you say it to, like, your boss or a teacher. Better with peers.
Okay, good cultural note from the sources there. So we don't have much time. Let's cut to the chase. Is okay in a team meeting, maybe?
Probably fine there, yes.
Hmm.
But maybe not with the CEO.
Got it. What about money?
If something is super expensive, like way more than you can afford.
Costs a fortune.
Yeah. The sources say it will break the bank.
Taking a week-long vacation right now would break the bank.
Yep. Relatable for many.
Huh, definitely. And the opposite. When something is really easy to do.
Like super simple. The idiom highlighted is piece of cake. The sources also mention easy as pie, as similar.
The English test was a piece of cake, we wish.
Mm.
But yeah, great phrase for something effortless.
Then there's watching something carefully, monitoring it, at work or maybe at home.
Like watching kids or security footage.
Exactly. The sources give the idiom keep an eye on for that.
The security guard has to keep an eye on the cameras. Makes sense. Or, can you keep an eye on the stove while I answer the door?
Perfect examples based on the source's meaning. Both work. And one last one for daily life, often about weather.
Let me guess. Something about rain.
You got it. Raining cats and dogs.
Ah, the classic.
The sources just explain it means raining really, really heavily.
We had to postpone the picnic because it started raining cats and dogs. Creates a funny image, but everyone knows what it means.
And that, brings us back to what the sources were saying about idioms, doesn't it?
How so?
The literal words are bizarre. Together, cats and dogs falling from the sky. But the phrase as a unit has a clear shared meaning, often a vivid one.
Absolutely. So, we've gone through your source material on idioms, what they are, the challenges, the learning tips from the sources, and looked at lots of examples, relationships, feelings, situations, work, daily life, all pulled from what you provided.
Yeah, and what your sources really drive home is how much richness and naturalness idioms add. Using them, guided by the tips in your material, really does help you communicate better, sound more fluent.
And just to recap those key learning tips from the sources, focus small, just 2 or 3. Make them personal to your life. Write your own examples and repeat. Practice them over a week.
That's the core of it. And maybe a final thought, thinking about what the sources show us. Idioms are kind of like cultural shorthand, aren't they?
How do you mean?
Well, they often reflect history, shared experiences, even humor within the language. So understanding them, using the framework your material offers, it's more than just vocabulary. It's like getting a deeper connection to the language and the people who use it.
That's a great way to put it. It opens up a new layer. So, based on everything we've explored in your sources today, a question for you listening: what new idioms will you pick to practice this week?